my name's Carl and I'm the club's new technical director. Been here for 2 months now, so starting to get a grasp of what's going on with everything. Tonight's presentation is going to take a look at our U8 to U12 grassroots program. Sue will be leading the presentation. Sue is our technical coordinator for U8 to U12, and so Sue will be looking at tonight's presentation. We are being videoed. As part of an OPDL license holder, we video all of our presentations because we submit them to Ontario Soccer so that they can see what education we're providing coaches, players, and parents also. As parents, you play a vital role in your child's education as a soccer player. So hopefully we can help educate tonight. There are some post-it notes on your chairs. Later on, you will be asked a couple of questions and you get to stick some things up on the wall, just in regards to expectations. So thank you for coming. If you have any questions at the end, please feel free to ask them to Sue, myself. We have coaches around the room, and Hilly, our U13 plus technical coordinator, is also back there. So thank you for coming. Sue, I'm going to hand it off to you, and I'm going to sit on this side of the room.
Okay, so we'll get started. So just a little bit of background on Richmond Hill Soccer Club for those of you that are new or haven't been around that long. We are now one of only 39 clubs in Canada to have a national youth club license. So again, as part of that, this is why we're videoing, and a lot of the development programs and things that we run, we follow Ontario Soccer's rules for, so we can fit into this national club license holder. We have OPDL, which is the top level of play in Ontario. So we go all the way from grassroots through to OPDL and adult. We do really well in the OPDL this year. 29 players were selected to the provincial screening program. So that is U14, U15, U16, boys and girls, and they go to the OPDL teams and select players to go and have a look at for the provincial teams. So throughout our boys and girls programs, we have those players, and then we also have a lot of licensed coaches within the club. So we currently have 3 national A license, 6 national B license, and 6 children's license coaches. The children's license is a newer program that's come in from Canada Soccer now, and it's aimed at coaches working with 6 to 12-year-olds. So it's a more advanced license. It takes about 6 to 12 months to complete. And it's really aimed at developing players in those younger age groups. So this is just a little bit about the club, our vision. So our vision is to provide an opportunity for any person in the town of Richmond Hill to play organised soccer year-round. So again, we're open to players of all abilities, and we want to get everybody into different programs. Our mission is to assist all participants in reaching their potential through the development of players, coaches, referees, and administrators. So we're looking at the whole thing. We're not just players, we're developing coaches, referees, administrators, and also parents who are interested in being involved in the club. We got lots of different roles that we can help you out with to get involved. Our values are respect, responsibility, passion, collaboration, and determination. So the Richmond Hill Soccer Club philosophy. So we are rooted in ensuring players' success both on and off the soccer field. We'll go on to some of this later on, but we want to develop lifelong skills in children. They're not just going to be soccer players, not just athletes. So a lot of our development is around social, psychological, and all those kind of skills as well. So we want to develop them as all-round people. We embrace long-term play development model to produce an attacking brand of soccer. We'll go a little bit more detail on long-term play development later. We emphasise strong technical ability and proactive decision-making skills. So we're not just teaching them to pass and to dribble, but we're teaching them how to make decisions around those as well. So you'll see a lot of the sessions have games in them. So they may look a little bit chaotic. They're not lines anymore, because we want them to make decisions as well as being able to have the technical ability, because obviously you're always playing against an opponent. And we want to dominate the game by keeping possession of the ball and consistently seeking to penetrate and play through all areas of the field. So as you've seen, we have a retreat line at these age groups, and we want to build players that are comfortable on the ball, okay, and we want them to be able to come to all areas of the field to be able to play. There's places heavy importance on leadership amongst all players and ensures they understand and maintain a healthy and active lifestyle. We know players, children these days aren't out and about as much as I'm sure you all were when we were younger, so we do put quite an emphasis on our training with the physical literacy and getting them active. So we go on to long-term player development. So long-term player development is putting the player first and offering age-appropriate opportunities for kids to enjoy the game of soccer. So everything we do, we try to make sure it's age-appropriate. So stage-appropriate. So we're putting them in situations where they can really develop. We're not trying to put them in situations where they might be above them or below them, and we'll move them as the season goes on where we feel that they should be. We are obviously making the game fun is the key to teaching and coaching, so players will continue in the game. We all want to do things that are fun. So behind everything, no matter what age it is, we want to make sure they're having fun. So they say grassroots is the most important part of the player pathway. This is where we give children the first experience in soccer, and ensuring that this experience is fun and enjoyable and revolves around child-friendly soccer is essential. If we get them in now and they don't like it, they'll leave the game forever. So we want to develop them and make sure they enjoy it so they keep playing right through, and hopefully they go on and play for Richmond Hill for many years, whether it's OPDL level, recreational level, house league, wherever they end up, adult, but we want them to keep playing the game. So the coaching objective here is simple. We want them to fall in love with the game. Aye, just grab a seat. So, starting, first question for you. So if you, we do have some pens around as well, or if you have pens, if you can grab one of your post-it notes, and we just want to know, what do you expect from our soccer program? What are you looking to get out of it for your child?
Once you've wrote something on the post-it note, come and stick it up here for me, please.
Gianni's going to hand out some pens, so if you need a pen.
What are your expectations of the soccer program?
Feel free to write as much or as you want.
Do you have any more pens? Do you need a pen as well?
We can use those pens. We can use those pens, right?
Yeah, there's markers there as well.
Markers.
Does anyone else need a pen? No? Covered? Perfect.
There's no wrong answers.
Oh, thinking. I can see cogs turning in people's minds. Once you've wrote and you've got your sticky note finished, come and put them up here so we can have a look and we can bring some ideas out. First up, gets a prize.
Oh, that's a good person to
It's a high five. Good job.
So yeah, it's a Cranbourne bowling ball.
Perfect, thank you. Second up gets a high five too.
And you've got to put your stick on
Good
there.
job. Well done. Perfect. You an Uber? Okay. Perfect. Thank you. 10 seconds to go. Closing off soon. Thank you.
It's hard to see. I don't have my contact lens, so I can't really see anything.
Any more? Any more? Closing. Okay, so let's have a look. I'm going to read out a few and then Sue's going to continue through the presentation. We're going to see if we can hit any of them. So we have technical skills, endurance, be more aggressive, friendship. I still got friends with people from England that I played with when I was 3 through soccer. Skill development, enjoyment of the game while personally and socially progressing. Beautiful, looking at all 4 corners there. In the moment, learning experiences, love soccer. I think we all love soccer. Fun, enjoy soccer, teamwork, communication, decision-making skills. Sounds like we're on the right page here. Fun, love of the sport, friends and activity. To aid in the player's development and have off the field with both the technical and mental aspects of the game. Brilliant. Any partnership or joint program with professional soccer club such as TFC. TFC? Does anyone know we do have a partnership with a professional soccer club? West Bromwich Albion. We actually have one of our players playing over in West Bromwich Albion at the moment in England. We do have a partnership. So great stuff. So thank you for doing that. It's nice to see what you expect from a soccer program, because hopefully we'll be able to make sure that we deliver those expectations. We want to make sure that throughout the whole program we're delivering what not only you want, but also what our children want. And when we ask the children what they expect from a soccer program, sometimes it's a lot different than what we get from adults, which is okay, because it's a child-centered world. Sometimes we as technical staff sit and talk about the game, and sometimes we have to take a step back because we look at it from an adult perspective. Looking at it from a 9-year-old and seeing what they see through their eyes, it's a totally different perspective. So thank you for that, and Sue's going to go through more in the program. Thank you.
So this is the program portfolio for the whole club. Obviously most people here fall in the learn to train age group, and we also have some players in the fundamentals there of the U8s. So at every age group we aim to have, as you can see, play, learn and play. So players in our development program are in our learn and play. There's also all these different soccer schools, ball masteries, house league that I know some players are doing as well as the development. So throughout every stage we offer everything for playing abilities. So again, going back to that slide where we said we wanted everybody in Richmond Hill to be able to come and join our club, we try to offer programs for every single age group there, no matter what the ability is. And for those of you that are in the development programs, there's always other programs as well if you want extra that we can direct you towards. So just a quick breakdown for what the program budget is here. So obviously it depends on program. Some people are in league, some people are in exhibition, we'll get onto that later. Some people are doing different training loads because we were trying to be accommodating to people with schedules. We know players want to be multi-sport as well, so that's why we offered that this year. But every program, you do get licensed coaches. So all the coaches on field there with you in practice and at games are licensed. It also covers your YRSA, Ontario Soccer and CSA fees. So we have to pay to all the organisations. It covers your insurance for the children for playing. It covers league games if you're in the league, or festivals for the U8s. And then for those that are in the exhibition, it covers the training time and the exhibition games. 1 training session per week on the turf field there at the Dome. 1 futsal session in a school gym, most of which are at Holy Trinity. There are a few exceptions to that. Player progress reports. So throughout the season, your players should be getting feedback from the coaches verbally in training and in games. And we're also going to be doing written player progress reports that you'll see at the end of the season for all the players. But throughout the season, you should be getting information as to how the player's doing and what they can be working on, what they're good at, and those kind of things. And we also have LTPD's age-specific curriculum. So we'll go a little bit more into that in a minute, but everybody's got a curriculum that we're following. So everybody's on the same page, we're a club, and we're all doing the same thing. So your program contents, again, you've got your turf sessions in the Dome, which are station-based. I think most people here will have seen that last week. If you haven't had a turf session yet, they'll be doing both skill and game activities within different stations, and they rotate through those throughout the session. You also got a futsal, where they have a technical warm-up, and then they get to play futsal in the gym. And then we have YRSL league games, which depending on age are 5v5, 7v7 or 9v9. And exhibition games or practices when we don't have a game scheduled on the turf. So onto the curriculum. So we do have a year-long curriculum, and what we do every 2 weeks there's a focus that we're working on, and under that focus we're working on 3 specific objectives. So we have, and there's these 4 in the middle circle there are the main parts of the game that we're looking at. So we have in possession, so that's obviously when we have the ball. And when we have the ball, we have the building phase, so when we start getting the ball and we're trying to build up the play. The penetrating phase, so when we're looking to get it forward. And then the finishing phase, when we're trying to score goals. So we break it down for that for the children, and we're trying to get them through those 3. We then have the transition from when we lose the ball. We had the ball and we lose it, what do we do? So we're looking to stop the other team from getting forward, and we're looking to try and recover back and delay them for getting forward, and finally we're looking to deny them the opportunity to score. We then have when we're actually out of possession, so that's when we're all defenders. So when we have the ball, in theory we're all attackers, right? Because we've got the ball, we're all looking to get forward and score. When we don't have the ball, we're all defenders, because we're trying to win it back. Doesn't matter where you are on the field. So we're looking to stop the other team, put pressure on them to try and win the ball back, and we're looking to get organised. We say to the children, when we don't have the ball, we want to get tight and compact, and when we got the ball, we want to spread out and be big. And then we have our transition from when we didn't have the ball to when we win it. So as soon as we win that ball back, what do we do with it? So can we get a quick attack going? So if we get it and we look up and we see we've got space, can we go with it and attack? Or can we counter-attack the other team as well and get forward? So they're the 4 areas of the game that we focus on. And within that, we have our curriculum. 2 weeks at a time, we work on different things, and there's objectives for the children with that. And it depends on the age. So the 8, 9, 10s have one, and the 11, 12s have another one. And then the 13 plus in the club has another one. So the whole club is following a curriculum. So when we have your children at 8, 9, 10, if they stay with us, we know what they've done. And then at 11, 12, we know what they can work on because we know what they've done. And then when they get to 13, the coaches that get them at 13 can say, well, they've been through this program, so now we know where we can go with them this far. So it's a whole development for them as a player. I know you can't read this. I know it's too small, but this is what our coaches get. So this is an example session plan, and we're going to start sharing these with parents through Team Snap. So every session on turf, the coaches follow these session plans. So what we have at the top here, we have our key factors, which are those 3 learning objectives that we were talking about. And then we look at all areas of the game. So we're looking at the technical, which is what they're doing with the ball. It may be a passing, okay, it may be dribbling. We're looking at tactical, so that's more the group play on the field. And then we're looking at physical, so our warm-up will always involve some physical literacy. Psychological, decision making, those kind of things. So again, we're not doing line exercises that you may have seen where somebody stood behind a cone and they just pass it and they follow it because there's no decision making. So we're putting them in activities where they have to think and make decisions. And sometimes it may be difficult for them and it may look chaotic out there, but the soccer game's the same, and we want to put them in activities and training that will mirror the game. So they need to be put under pressure, they need to be thinking about what they can do. And then again, social. So we're looking at, obviously, fun. I think a lot of you put that on your boards there, but we're trying to make the activities fun. We're making games that the children can enjoy. Working communication, a lot of people talk about communication, and just building on that. So they will do a warm-up when they arrive. There's then 2 activities, which most of you will have seen. So they do an activity and then they flip with another group and do the other activity, and then they'll finish with a game. So it'll be some form of a 3v3 to a 5v5 or a 7v7 game at the end, where they're playing more of the game of soccer. And we'll be working, all our factors work through to that big game, but we're still focusing on those objectives that we're working on. This is just a quick slide here. This is what the field would look like when you arrive. So depending on the number of players and the space we have and how many there are in the group, your field will be split in one of those ways, and the children rotate through the stations. Some groups are 3. Some of you will have seen this one before, and some of you, if it's less numbers and a bigger space, will have seen the one on the top left there. Futsal. So we also offer a futsal program indoor. Most of it, again, is at Holy Trinity. So futsal is in the gym. It's used in a lot of countries because it gets a lot of touches on the ball. What's the benefits there? I don't know if you all know, but the futsal uses a smaller ball and it doesn't bounce as much. So it makes it easier for players to control it. If you use a normal soccer ball in the gym, it would go flying off all the time. So it gets children a bit more confident in controlling the ball, makes it a little bit easier for them, and passing. And futsal, you get frequent touches on the ball and increased opportunities to score. The max they go to in futsal is 5v5, and they're learning in the gym there, they'll do some technical stuff and then they'll be playing 5v5. So they're getting gameplay in the futsal. So the program, players are going to practice in their pools, so age group pools, or there may be 2 age groups together. The age groups that are training together are playing the same format. So our U8s are separate because they play 5v5, our U9 and U10s play 7v7, and our U11 and U12s play 9v9. So within those pools, they'll practice together. And players will be placed in the program that meets their level of ability at this moment in time. So we're not saying players are going to develop throughout the season, and that's another thing about the feedback. So coaches are always looking at the players and seeing if they're developing, and can we put them in different groups if we feel they need to for their development. Maybe we put them in a group because we feel they need a slower pace of play or they need a quicker pace of play, because we want to always be challenging them but not making it too difficult or too easy for them. Game day rosters, so that's for league play. We have to make our game day rosters. We do in YRSA have open rosters. So by open rosters, that means they can be changed again throughout the season depending on the development of the player. So if a player's doing really well, we can put them in a more challenging environment. If we feel a player needs an easier environment, we can put them in something where they can get a little bit more confidence on the ball. So game day rosters are created based on the appropriate level for each player, and we won't move them one game at a time unless a team has a bunch of players missing and we need to fill a game that day. But we'll give them, if somebody's put on a team, they'll be given 3 or 4 games to take a look, get used to that play and see if that's where they fit in. And the coaches are always looking, and they'll be telling each other, working together if we need to move people. And we look at games as a learning opportunity, not a win-loss. They don't keep scores and standings. We know the children all know what the score is, and we all know what the score is. But we're looking at working on what we've been working on in practice in the games. So we're not just going out looking at whether we won or whether we lost. So this is just a little graph that it shows you why, one of the reasons why we're doing the open rosters. Players don't all develop at the same rate as others. So there's 3 different lines there, players. Some players go up, like the red player there, developed, dropped down a bit, and then went up again. Some players go down and up, some go up and up. So the player here that started at the lowest level, by the end there was at the highest level as well. So we don't know where they are in September. They may be somewhere completely different by March. So we want to be able to challenge them and move them as needed. And again, we are developing the whole person, not just the athlete. So as we showed you on that session plan, we're looking at all 4 factors there: technical, psychological, physical, and social. We want to develop the child, not just the soccer player. So we'll be looking at everything, not just technical. We tend to focus a lot on technical and tactical, but we've been doing the children's license, and we're working a lot more on children's license on the child rather than the technical and tactical side of things. What do they enjoy? How can we make it a fun environment for them? Things like asking players to make decisions, asking player-led sessions. You know, if we give children some cons and some goals and some balls, what do they come up with? What do they think is fun rather than what we might think is fun for them? So involving the child a lot more in decisions rather than us saying this is what we're going to do. And then hopefully that will aid their development process and help them in all those areas. So you have another sticky. It's that time again. So what we're going to ask for you now is, what do you expect from the coaching staff in the programs? So what are you looking for from our coaches for your child? And again, we'll do a sticky and put them on another wall.
What do you expect from the coaches?
Oh, goalkeeper, yeah, no problem. No wrong answers again. So anything you think that a coaching staff should be doing?
Teaching the kids the proper way.
Put it on your sticky notes.
Yeah, grab the pen there. There's a. I think.
just came.
Oh, okay, write it down and stick it on the wall. Yeah, and then we'll go through them. We're sharing pens. I don't think we've quite got enough. Oh, we got one coming up.
We got one coming up. Come in. Up you come. What do you expect from a coach? Is this your answer? Okay, why don't you take another sticky note and you write me an answer?
They bring to
what you expect. Thank you.
The goalkeeper meeting, I think, like a presentation. People bring stimulants.
Thank you. Any more? Any more? You get what? Am I still waiting more from you? Okay, perfect. We'll see what your perspective is compared to your dad's. Thanks, buddy. Is this yours or your mum's answer? Oh, okay. Perfect. This is yours. Oh, I like that. I like that. Any more? Perfect. Okay, so some expectations of coaching staff, coaches in the room. Make sure you're listening. Okay. To bring cake to every practice. Knowledgeable, enthusiastic, fair, positive, organised, kind. To know the abilities and skill level of my child. And to match them with appropriate challenges. I like that. Appropriate competition. Positive support and development, encouragement, confidence building, great. Challenge them to improve without making them feel bad for mistakes. Who's ever made a mistake in this room?
I just made it.
I've only made one. My wife didn't make You got some ones for me? Got some good ones? Oh, good communication. Fair opportunity, I like that. I like being fair to everyone. Better, more frequent communication. 100% agree with that. Detailed feedbacks. So as Sue kind of touched upon, we'll be implementing some player progress reports. It's going to be a four-corner approach, but it's going to be very kid-friendly. I have smiley faces, have simple terms for players to understand. Organizational skills, yeah. I expect them to help me learn. Yours, what's your name? Karen? Greer. Great answer, Greer. I left this one to last. Identify talent. What does that mean?
Yeah, so identify the talent in the sense like when they play at different positions, to identify the perfect skill that they have and to grow in that. Along
Okay.
with that, the versatility also counts because they need to play at different positions.
We talk a lot about talent identification, and some of the brightest, most soccer knowledgeable people in the world cannot identify what a talented 9-year-old looks like. I can't.
So I can misinterpret it.
That's fine. That's fine. But it's something we're going to discuss. When does a soccer player reach their potential? When does a soccer player reach their highest potential? You can't answer it. And I'll give you a clue. I still haven't reached my highest potential yet. Hello? What do you think?
He just threw you under the bus.
I'm from Hamilton. We won the CPL. Anyone tell me what's the age?
The peak.
The peak, a player to reach their highest potential. And some, oh,
Between 26 and 32. The peak.
very close. Very close. Johnny, you want to have a go?
The 28.
You're wrong.
Really?
Really?
You close.
33.
Oh,
It's gonna be
that's
For
my
a
number.
male player, it's 27. For a female player, because females develop sooner, it's 26. Okay, and they find those stats from players that are competing in World Cups, players that are winning World Cups, and they take the average age of players that win a World Cup. So we don't need to worry about what a 9-year-old is doing at the moment. Okay, when a player can reach their true potential at the age of 27, and I'm worried about little Tommy being on this roster or this roster at the age of 8 or 9. Let's take that step back. It's not a race. Okay, we've got many years for a child to reach their potential. So just to get people thinking that, like I say, I've still not reached my potential.
That means you're what, 23?
I wish. I wish I was 23. So some great answers again. Some great answers. There's not one answer on there that I don't think is correct about what we should expect from a coach. And it's, for me as the technical director, these are all what I expect from coaches within our club. So we're on the right track, which is good to know. Thank you.
Okay, so we've just done a little slide here with the technical staff on the club. I know there's been quite a lot of changes recently. Carl's been here for 2 months. I've been here for, I think, 4 or 5 months now. Illy, how long you been here?
Too long.
Some coaches have been around for a while. Tim's been here for a while. Nadine's been here for a while, right? Juan's been in and out. Johnny, you've been
I've
here for a
been
while?
a year.
Okay, so just to let you know, so obviously Carl here, he's the technical director. We have Bobby Lennox, who's our technical project manager, and he does a lot of work with our coaches in coach development. And he also does a lot of work behind the scenes on our game models and developing how the club's going to play, but particularly how our coaches are doing, helps them through their qualifications. We have a senior staff coach, Henrik, so he mostly works with our OPDL groups and our League One. Hilly is our U13 to U17 program manager, so for those of you that got players or children that are in the older age groups as well, you'll probably come across Hilly. I'm looking after the U9 to U12 age groups, which is most here. We do have a program manager coming in for the U4, U8 age groups soon. And we have
5th of November, it will be announced. She will start.
And we have a goalkeeper coach who, I know somebody just left to go to a goalkeeper presentation, so we do have goalkeeper training even for these age groups as well. They're just finalising some of the dates and things, and we'll be getting some of that information to you. Within the U8 to U12, these are our pools of coaches. So you will mostly see 2 to 3 coaches in most of our age groups, but we do have a full staff that you may see from time to time as well. And the idea as well with the training there and them rotating is that 3 or 4 coaches get to know your player, not just one. People may have different opinions, different ways of coaching. We don't want them to just see one coach. A coach gets ill or a coach leaves and a player's never seen anybody else. Same with the players learning to play with other people. We want them to see different coaches. So within those age groups, you'll have some coaches, and then as they progress through the club, they'll see other coaches that maybe work with different age groups. All our coaches are working together as a group. So again, we're going for the club. We're Richmond Hill Soccer Club. We're not this team, this team, this team. So everybody's on the same page with the curriculum, with the sessions, and we're working together. We want to deliver consistent principles and content to the players. So whether you come on this program or this night, you're seeing the same sessions. We're working on the same things with your players. Everything's player-centered, like we said, and our coaches are being educated. They have education sessions as well as to how to run the sessions and how to develop players. And again, we're going to look at that. It gives us a more independent looking at the players. So we got 3 or 4 people watching your child, looking at the development rather than just one person's opinion. If you haven't met any of those coaches yet, I know some of them have been around for a while and some of them are new. So please say hello to them, introduce yourself. They're trying to get around to introduce themselves to all the parents as well and get to know you all. Okay, we're not going to do sticky note this time. We're just going to ask for answers. Carl's going to be busy with the pen. What would you say your role is as a parent of a child in the soccer program or any sport program? What do we want from parents?
What's your role as a parent?
No wrong answers. Somebody get the ball rolling.
Get them to practice on time and games on
Get to
time.
practice on time. Beautiful.
Feed them.
Pardon?
Feed them.
Feed them.
Feed them healthy food, yeah, and don't feed them a big dinner before they have to run.
Okay. Give us some
Anybody?
more. Give us some more. What's your role as parents?
Encourage them even if they had a bad practice day or a game day.
Encourage, I like it.
Perspective.
Pardon?
Perspective.
Respect, what's that mean I'm English.
It means that you're not handing out scholarships and you're not getting professional.
Okay.
So understand they're playing sport.
Appropriate perspective.
There you go.
Motivation.
Pardon?
Motivation.
Motivate. Pardon? Yeah, feed them, drink. No McDonald's on the way to practice.
Pay for it.
Pay for it. Pay for it. I like that. Pay for it and drive them there.
I think
Enjoy their development.
I think as parents, in any capacity to participate, show participation. Make it, whether you're there in attendance or whether you're involved in these types of events, show your commitment to it along with them. I think that's important for kids to see.
Perfect.
Make it fun for them.
Anything else?
Yeah, what did you say?
Make it fun for them.
Make it fun.
Yeah, make it fun for them.
Keep positive.
Yeah, keep it positive.
Okay, so we got some good ones. I'm sorry if I'm spelling anything wrong. I'm English. You're right to me. Be on time, definitely. Biggest pet peeve that I have in life. If you're 10 minutes, if you're not there 10 minutes before something, you're late. So whether that's in the real world or whether that's in soccer, especially when it comes to soccer, we want to prepare the players properly. Coaches want to be prepared with the players properly. So they've got a session at 6 o'clock. Try to be there at least 15 minutes beforehand. Putting the kit on, okay? Making sure they've got the right gear on. Taking the earrings out, especially for the girls. feed them drink, definitely. Encourage, I like that. Gotta encourage, gotta be positive, and we've got to support them. Understanding that kids make mistakes. We have a huge decline in soccer and other sports across North America at the age of 13. At the age of 13, 75% of children are dropping out of sports because they're not being encouraged correctly. They're not having fun. And we talk a lot about the car ride home. I know as a child, I had it from my father, pushing me at the highest level. And I have a 21-year-old son that I never coached, but I've always took the stand with him that I'll never discuss with him how well he played or how well he didn't play after a game or a practice. I'll give him some feedback if he asks, but I won't discuss it with him. So we talk about that car ride home, making it as positive as possible. Not saying, why didn't you do this, or why didn't you score that goal, or why did you let that goal in? That's not good for a child's development. So we've got to be positive. Motivate, yeah. Pay, I like that. You got to pay for them. We appreciate that, and they appreciate that. So at the end of the day, if it's not for parents driving them there, paying for them, we don't get to play the game. Enjoy their development. I really like that. And that's a process. Enjoying watching your kids play. I'll be honest, I didn't enjoy watching my child play because of other parents. And as a technical director of the club that my son grew up in, I could not stand with parents and watch his game. I had to go stand at the other end of the field on my own so I could enjoy his development. There's too much negativity. Parents talking about other children and the kids. Let's not worry about that. Enjoy their development and enjoy that it's a process. Show commitment, again, being there, making it fun and being positive. So some excellent things that we as parents, and what I'm going to say is, and in all three questions that we've had, no one's talked about winning trophies.
That's expected.
Which is great because it's not about winning. At the end of the day, and Sue's talked about the four corner model, at the end of the day, all of our children are going to be citizens of Canada. They're going to work. They're going to grow up to have families. They're hopefully going to play soccer until 54 and on. The chances of them making a professional soccer player, male or female, who can give me that percentage?
Not even 1%.
I say 0.0.
0.01%. Okay, so I'm going to tell you today, we're not going to make a child a professional soccer player. I'm going to tell you we're going to give them good skills, though, to go on in life, and to be athletic, and to have good physical literacy, and to fall in love with the game. But no, 0.01%. You've got more chance of becoming a millionaire by winning the lottery.
You know, one of the other great things I can say that the club does give them, though, just having kids who've gone through it, is like job opportunities and development opportunities, volunteer opportunities. My kids are older now, and they've all worked here, and they really feel like they're part of a family here, and they've met great role models, and so it really does go beyond the field. I think we say that, but sometimes people don't realize how much it does beyond.
Small part of this. It's all about those life skills.
Yeah.
So, Sue, thank you. I'm going to leave it on to you to run to the end.
So these are, I think some of these things have been covered. These are the parent expectations that we had. So first and foremost, be mum and dad, right? Be the parent, be the one. Just be a mum and dad. You're not the coach, not the referee, those kind of things. They just want you as a mum and dad. A lot of those we covered. Correct equipment, nutrition and hydration. Positive, supportive communication, and I love to watch you play. So again, that's the message. Not you played well today or you didn't play well today, but just that you loved to watch them play. I used to be in Alberta as well, working in grassroots, and one of the other surveys was that kids love their parents to play with them as well. Like somebody said, love to be involved. So they love to know in some capacity that you're involved in the game. So can you, away from the field, can you kick a ball around with them, right? After practice, after a game. I know time is tight in indoor, but I know in outdoor particularly, some groups, we see them after the game, they're there still playing, and some of the parents are on the field there playing with them. There's no rush to go home, and the kids do love that. They want to know that you're involved. And just loving the fact that they're playing, doesn't matter whether they won, they lost, and how they did. There we have a picture of two different sets of parents. Does anybody know who the parents are on the left? Yeah. So we got Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez there, Barcelona. Let Messi, arguably the greatest player in the world. Suarez, not so much. He's decent, I guess. But their boys are playing in Barcelona there, and they're just sat watching, enjoying it, and leaving it up to the coaches to coach them. Even though they've got a fantastic knowledge of the game, they're just enjoying being parents and watching their kids play.
Let me ask you a question. Messi and Suarez, would they be good coaches or would they be bad coaches? What do you say? Why?
Because their expectations are way up here. They may forget the level that the kids are at.
Yeah, okay.
It's just like Wayne Gretzky being the coach. He's a great player, right? But he wasn't such a good coach.
Yeah. Just because you played at a really, really high level does not mean that you can transfer that to a 9-year-old. You have to be a special person to be able to do that. So just because we've got all these ex-pros in the game and they come back to coach, doesn't always mean that they're the greatest coach. Sometimes they treat children a little bit unfairly because it's that environment that they're from. Trust me, being in that pro environment is a different world. So we don't always have pro coaches. We have children or coaches within the game that they just love the game. They learn. They never played at a high level, but they're excellent with youth soccer players.
And then again on the right there, and I think it goes back to just enjoying it, right? We talked about the messages that we give the children in training, and then in the game we're trying to maybe look at those same objectives in the game. So we don't want differing messages going out to the players. A big thing in North America, and now it's in the States as well, is parents yelling pass it all the time. We might have been working on dribbling and 1v1 skills, and we want them to try and take people on, and they're going to lose it sometimes. But if all they hear every time they get the ball is 10 people yelling pass it, they start doing things like that. And on that one again, and ref, are you blind? Refs like players make mistakes, right? And we have a lot of young refs in the game, and we want to encourage them. Everybody doesn't get everything right, but we just want to try and help them as well. So
even VAR doesn't get it right now.
Oh. Don't even bring that up.
And the boot it one, again in the States, I had a lot of parents who American football was their main sport, so they were looking at yardage. So they were looking how far can we boot it down the field is the better thing to do. So again, we're looking at, we talked earlier about possession and building play. We're looking to keep the ball, not just get it down the other end with the big boot. So somebody, apparently used to be the regional player development manager for Ontario Soccer, said the correct environment will enable children to become better athletes, better human beings, and better leaders. So that goes back to what we were saying about the all-round person. We're not just trying to make soccer players here, we're trying to make them better human beings. And if we can put them in a good environment that aids their development, then we feel we can do that. So we just have a thing here with player expectations. So we respect your teammates, respect your coaches, respect the other team, respect everybody. Positive communication. So you might be playing with, again, a player makes a mistake. Everybody's going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to have good and bad days. We always want to just help each other out on the field. We're always representing Richmond Hill Soccer Club with the badge. So we don't want to be disrespectful to other teams as well. I've seen some things already not from our club, but from other clubs in the indoor league there at Trio that I don't think are very respectful. Nothing from our club at all, but it's like these are kids playing. So the students, and athletes. So we understand school's important, so we want to make sure that they're getting their education as well. And again, have fun. Big letters, that's always the most important. We say be ready there, so games 30 minutes before. We do, even in indoor, even though we don't necessarily get on the field to warm up, the coaches still would like the players there 30 minutes before so they can go through the lineup, they can explain to them what we're going to do for the game. If we get players turning up 3 and 4 minutes before, we don't even know if they're coming, so sometimes we don't even know if we have enough people to play. And that's, again, unfortunately parents, you're the drivers still at this age, so got to spur those kids on. And practices 15 minutes before. Sometimes in the dome here, particularly, the field's empty before we start, so they can get a little bit of extra time. If you're here a little bit before that, if there's nobody on at 5 and we start at 6 and they're there, they can be doing some individual ball work and things before the session starts. Be prepared. So a ball, if they don't have a ball, we have balls. Make sure they're always bringing a water bottle or 2. Some kids like to still throw half of their water, so they may need more water bottles. The correct kit, the soccer shoes and the shin guards. Again, it's just safety aspects. We need to make sure that everybody has what they need to be able to play. So our final thought, I'll let you read that, but each young player is on their own unique journey, right? Even if they're with a group of players, everybody, like we said, develops at a different age, a different stage. Some people may go on to keep playing the game, some people may go to hockey, basketball, or just be multi-sport. So, and as they grow, they change. And we can't predict, as Carl said with the talent ID, we can't predict right now where a player's going to be. We can say where they are right now, but we can't say where they're going to be in 2 to 3 years because things change a lot at this age group. So we would just want to make sure we give them the best environment to try and help them to develop.
What changes for a player?
Confidence.
Confidence?
And with the confidence, it's courage and bravery to take risks, right? And like, when they can switch over and have that courage and bravery, that's what really then starts to lead to more mastery and understanding, where they're going and so forth.
Good. Yeah. We want all players to be brave and build their confidence. What else changes?
Their bodies.
Their bodies. Their bodies. I've seen kids that with this, and then 6 months later with this, and the whole change. They go from being the greatest player out there to Bambi, and their legs are going one way, their arms are going another. Coordination that they go through puberty. All players grow at different stages, so we have to be patient, and that will affect them in terms of how they develop. Family life changes. The schooling, changing school, what they eat can change how they develop. So there's lots of things that, not just the coach's fault. Sometimes we see players be up here and then they go through this decline in their development. It's nothing to do with the coach or anything. It's just a child. Okay, it's their growth, their development. 6 months later, they're back up here. Okay, so it's a whole process when we look at development. Development's non-linear. Sometimes we think we start at A and we go to B. And between A and B, there's 50,000 turns. Okay, so we have to keep that in our minds.
So again, don't assume that the current success of a player is an indicator of ongoing proficiency. So that again goes back to development. Some players that are excelling right now, other players just need a bit more time. Some players that are the same age may have a lot more experience in soccer than others. Some may have already grown and things like that. So players, that's another reason for the open rosters and the player pools, is that we can, as players grow and develop, and we can move them around and put them in those correct environments. And don't overburden. That's what on us as well. We try not to overburden the player. So our age and stage appropriate. We don't want to go too up high. As you said, I think with the professional players, they may have a different expectation on a player. We want to remember that they're 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. They're not mini adults. and enjoy and cherish your players' development. As somebody said over there, enjoy their development. So it's perfect on there. So we'll take questions. We'll take questions from the group, or if you just have individual questions related to your program or to some of the coaches, we can do that as well. And then just on the final slide there, we've had some people asking about communication. So obviously you've got your team coaches that are on the field with you that you can ask questions of. And then if you have any questions in the 9 to 12s, you can email me there, or Hilly for the 13 and older. Or if you feel you need a bigger question, you can always email Carl as well. So I know some people with the new people in the club, some people didn't know sometimes who to contact. So, do we have any questions? Any questions for like everything or?
So we've either covered everything or we've more than it.
I think it's the second one. Or it's snowing and they want to get home.
Is there any questions? That's your opportunity. Any questions? No?
Easy crowd.
How do, as parents, it sounds like they're going to be getting some sort of profile or update on a regular basis on the development of the child, or at least that's how I understood it, in a fun and informative way for the kid to ingest and digest. How do we communicate with coaches outside of the, because I know my kid better than, let's say, the coach knows, right? And my daughter may be interacting with her in a way that requires a certain type of approach or style, or something that I might want to share with the coach along that line. What would be the best method to do that? Is it through an email? I find face-to-face is usually best, but I'm asking kind of, what do you guys
Through
want to see?
Teams stuff, you have contact with the coaches.
Teams, the app.
Yeah, through the app you can connect with the coaches individually. At practice sessions, you could connect with the coach and say, hey, Coach Nadine, can I chat with you after tonight's practice? And they can say, yeah, no problem. We can spend 10 minutes after the practice having a quick chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second one is you talked about the open roster. So there's different levels. I think there's train exhibition, there's league. So is it a fluid process throughout the year of how the kids move up and down those routes, or how does that work?
Yeah, so as in outdoor, we tend to have just the leagues because we have more availability of players in the leagues.
Right.
In indoor, we're more limited to a number of teams we can have, and also the tiers that they offer from Wireless L. So what we did, we would put maximum of 2 teams in, and they only have tier 1 and tier 2, whereas in outdoor they have tier 3 as well. So what we've done instead, we've had exhibition groups. So we have players in the exhibition group that we've actually had some communication today with a couple of clubs to set up some exhibition games, and they will train or play in exhibition games. If coaches see development in those, there would be opportunity for some of those players to go up into the league teams. Obviously there's a set roster. It's not a set roster, but there's an amount of players that we can have on a roster. So the fluidity of movement, there is movement fluidity, especially between rostered league players. Exhibition, it's a little bit more complicated in indoor, but I know at some of the age groups particularly, the coaches are looking, and if we do feel that a player should be given that opportunity, we have the option to call them up, or if we want to do it on a more regular basis, to put them up onto a league roster.
So sorry, you mentioned there's tier 1 and tier 2 in indoor.
Yeah.
And that's league play.
Yeah, that's we're in the YRSL league, and they have
Right.
tier 1 and tier 2, yeah.
And then, so the exhibition stuff is below the tier 2. I don't want to say below, but it's within the program underneath the tier 2.
That's pretty much, yeah, or some people that are in that as well, though, it's commitment, because in indoor we know there's a lot more people doing multi-sports, so I think we've got a lot of hockey players, a lot of basketball players, so we also have a bunch of players that just aren't available on a weekend to play, so they may be doing the exhibition because they don't have to commit to 16 league games throughout the season as well, so it's a little bit different in indoor to outdoor.
Okay.
I know last year, I wasn't here last year, but last year nobody was in league. It was they only did exhibition, so we didn't enter any teams in league play. And again, we're looking at the league play as to how many teams we should put in, and whether we should be putting teams in some of these leagues, because some groups are having a good experience, some groups, we're evaluating all the time to decide whether we should be putting teams in or what's best for the players' development. Is it playing exhibition games, not committing to a 16-game league, especially at the younger age groups?
Yeah, in my experience, it's quite specific to the pool or the group quite often. Like we've had years where, Ryan and I might be coaching 2 different age groups, and for one of them, we're putting them in league play, and one of them we're doing exhibition games, right? And it might depend on the number of players, it might just depend on where they're at, it might be whether we know what the competition is like out there and where we think they'll have the best experience. Summer was great though. Like the York region has changed the rules over the last, I guess, year or two to allow more fluidity of movement in the outdoor league, and that's been great. So we had our 11s and 12s playing together last year, and it was really nice as long as they're in the same game format. So if they're in 7-a-side or 9-a-side, it was open rosters, which was great. So it got kids more games, it got kids more experience, it let us field an additional team, which we might not have been able to do otherwise. So I think they're coming a long way with making it a better experience for everybody with games. Yeah.
Child-centered.
Yeah, it's much better. Yep.
Can you guys explain how you came to the decision of making the split age roster teams? Because we have like a lot of U10s that could have made a second team, right?
There is no Division 2, Tier 2 in U10 though this year. There's only a Division 1. So YRSL only, I don't know. Hopefully there'll be Tier 1 and Tier 2 in outdoor, because I believe more teams play in outdoor. But on the girls' side particularly, there's less teams than on the boys' side. So YRSL only made a Tier 1 U10, and then they made Tier 1 and Tier 2 U9, but with the same format, U9s and U10s can play in the same league. So a lot of clubs mix and have players. Actually, the boys, so as an example, not just U9s and U10s, the boys played, our U10 boys played last weekend against a team of half U11s, U10s, and a couple of U9s. So a lot of clubs either don't have the players or are mixing the rosters to put their teams in where they feel is developmentally appropriate for the player. So they're mixing the age groups.
Yeah, like we would have had only one. We would have only been allowed to have or able to field 2 teams last year with our 11 and 12 girls.
Yeah.
If we had done them only based on age group, and by blending them, we were allowed to have 3 teams. So it was really nice that no children were left out of being able to participate in a league.
It seems a little somewhat unfortunate because the girls have all been playing together, right, and with the cohesion and everything that they've learned with each other working as a team.
But that's kind of where we're going though with the player pools, right? We don't want, and I know it's happened in the past, and again I can't comment for what's happened in the past because I haven't been here, but we don't want the green team, the white team, the silver team, the black team. We want a pool of players that if they're excelling, they can play in this level, and if they're in this, and if they always think if somebody goes in the green team at U9 and thinks I'm in the green team now from U9 to U12, that's not necessarily the case, or I'm in the white or the black team and that's where I am for the next 3 years. That's not.
The word team has actually been removed from all of Ontario Soccer's U12 and below documentation. And when I was at Ontario Soccer, we made that change because players were selected to a team at the age of 9, let's say in September, and we understood how a child's development can change from month to month. So what we were seeing was children were being pigeonholed on a specific team. And then 4 months down the road, the development changed dramatically, and that team that they were pigeonholed on wasn't the best environment for them anymore. So by having open rosters and by removing the word team, it allows that flexibility and allows coaches and players to be then placed in appropriate levels that's going to be appropriate for their competition and development to help them stay in the game longer. And as well, parents kind of got hung up on the word team. And back 10 years ago, it was A teams and B teams and C teams. The difference between an A 9-year-old and a C 9-year-old, there's no difference. So by removing that word team, it allowed more fluidity and better environment for players.
Like I always explain it, like we did it with our girls last year for the first time, and there was a bit of resistance, but more from the parents probably at the beginning. And I'll tell you that they kind of look at it as now you're just expanding your big group of friends. Like your team's just much bigger, and we really do. It gives us the ability to group them appropriately at practices. Like having a bigger pool, for instance, allowed us to have 3 levels of play instead of just 2, which was great for the kids, and they all get along so well.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Kids are at recess.
Yeah.
They play soccer or football or whatever. It's 2 teams. This team is destroying the other team. What the kids do.
Flip it around.
They start the game. They say, you go on this team, you go on this team, and then they balance it. Kids' perspective sometimes is better than an adult's perspective, because adults don't do that. We as adults don't do that. Some of us do, but players definitely move people around. Sometimes because it's the player's game. So we've got to change our mentality to understand what's right for children versus how we see through an adult's eyes. And we've always had the battle. Doing things through adults' eyes is easier for us as adults. But doing things right for children is a lot harder for adults. But it's right for children.
And at the higher levels, it's really nice, I think, when the kids know the age group above and below.
Yeah.
Because as they get to OPDL and stuff, or even CSL, YRSL, there's opportunities to move even at that level. And it's that much more comfortable, I think, for kids. So now you're a U13 OPDL player. You get called up to the U14 team, but you've known those girls or boys now since you were like 11 or 12, right?
And I look at the U21 boys at the
Yeah.
present time. Those U21s have been together
Since they were 7.
since there was 7, which was when LTPV got implemented. Now, when I go to League One trials and I see 45 U21 boys that played on 4 different teams, they're all friends together.
Yeah.
They're all out there together and they're having fun. Doesn't matter which team they were on, they're all as one group.
That's true, and that was a group that was like 5 or 6 different groups within the pool. It was a huge pool, so they did move quite a bit in that O2 boys pool. Yeah.
Any more questions? Yes.
Talking about learning the game right, and especially when I see the little ones playing and the ball goes out instead of a throw, and they kick the ball and they do a 2-touch, and is there any way we could stop that?
No, because it's appropriate for children. So at the U9, U10 age group, the children are allowed to dribble the ball in.
I understand that, but I'd rather them know all the rules properly. If they do a mistake and they're in the game the proper way,
I'll ask you, what's a rule to a 9-year-old?
none to nothing. But if they have some structure, they'll learn it.
I think when we look at structure, our world is full of structure, and that's not good for children.
But that's how we grew up.
That's not how I grew up. I didn't grow up. I grew up in England. I had no structure in my life. I got home. The only structure I had, was my mom used to say, "Come home when the lights go on." The street lights.
For sure, but I still think that they should be playing with the rules. That just drives me nuts.
But you know what is neat about it? It's supposed to teach decision making.
Yes,
yes,
because
I
then they
agree.
start to realize they're like, should I dribble in?
Yes.
Yeah,
So it gets them to realize, okay, if there's space, and it gets them to play quickly.
Yes.
Because so often the
I
girls
see
will be
that.
like, oh, I want to
And we don't
hold
do
the ball.
throw-ins at the younger age.
Yeah.
No, I understand. And
Yeah.
you don't do throw-ins, but at least to do like the proper passing or whatever. Even if they do a mistake.
What's the proper pass?
Whatever they think.
Whatever they think, you're right.
But that's where it is neat. Now they'll realize, okay, if there is a pass, I'll play that pass.
Yeah,
But if there's
if
space
there's
and I can
space,
dribble,
yeah.
it does encourage them. Like it's just different for us because we played in such a
Yes,
but we also
yeah.
played 11 aside when we were like this big and we were all like running around in huge clumps.
For sure.
So that wasn't great either. Like I've kind of come through the same way. Like you learn as you go, and now my kids are older, and now I'm seeing the development even with OPDL. Now at OPDL they have a retreat lineup for the team. And kids are playing out of the back, and we're seeing it at Ontario's screening. We're like every year
I wish
is getting better
LTPD was around
Yeah.
when my son grew up playing.
because the level of play is increasing, right? Yeah, like they're playing more now rather than.
Question.
I find it kind of weird too, throw-ins, but we gotta see what's eliminated when you don't throw the ball in. The ball's not in the air and bouncing and hitting it with your head. And there's less concussions now, right? So
definitely.
you sometimes you have to modify the rules a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, instead of doing
And we look at no throwing.
Just turn away when the ball's coming from my side.
Because you wanna keep the ball low.
When a child
No, I
throws the ball,
understand.
where do they throw the ball to? Typically the kid's head or the chest. We're still trying to work with kids controlling the ball with their feet before we get to the chest. So that's why it's age appropriate. Any more questions? Well, thank you all.